Avengers: Age of Ultron. The superhero jumbo pack sequel Avengers did colossal business and generated the second biggest opening weekend of all time with an estimated $187.7 million. That was 10% below the record $207.4 million of its predecessor The Avengers from the same weekend in 2012, but ahead of every other movie in history as it kicked off another busy summer movie season. Because the first Avengers movie shattered the all-time record and was a well-loved film with great legs, the follow-up was expected to go even higher by some margin. Instead, it joined other recent action franchises that saw Part 2's open below or just barely above Part 1 such as Star Trek, The Hobbit, and The Hunger Games. Marvel has had a better track record with all Iron Man, Captain America, and their sequels opening significantly higher than their predecessors, so Ultron was expected to edge out the first assembly flick from 2012. Still, no film opening north of $180 million can ever be called a disappointment. Age of Ultron began its weekend with $27.6 million in Thursday night pre-shows starting at 7 p.m., which ranked 6th best all time. It was well behind the $43.5 million of 2011's Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2, which was the final film in the series and opened in July when all students were out of school. The full opening day of Friday, including pre-shows, was $84.5 million, which was second best of all time, trailing the $91.1 million of the final Potter. It beat the $80.8 million of the first Avengers by 5%, but that film started later with midnight shows on Thursday night. Saturday came crashing down by 32% to $57.2 million. The first Avengers dropped 14%, while the following year's Iron Man 3, again on the same first weekend of May, fell by 10%. Sports certainly had an impact, especially in the Pacific time zone where the fight was on in prime time. Disney is projecting a slim 20% decline on Sunday to $46 million, making for a weekend estimate of $187.7 million. Because of Saturday's distractions, the studio expects Sunday to have a softer fall. Robert Downey Jr. now owns the top 3 opening weekends of all time with Avengers, Ultron, and Iron Man 3's $174.1 million. Of course, Marvel and Disney have co-ownership of these 3 medals with Mr. Stark, with 2 more Avengers films on the calendar for 2018 and 2019. Ultron averaged a potent $43,886 per location this weekend from 4,276 theaters. 44% of the gross came from 3D screens, which was down from the 52% of the 2012 pick but up from the 40% of last year's Captain America: The Winter Soldier. IMAX accounted for $18 million from 364 screens this weekend, or 10% of the total take. Many theaters had higher prices than 3 years ago, including the AMC Lincoln Square in New York City, which offered the IMAX 3D version for $22 per ticket, and yes, some of those shows were sold out. For this weekend, Ultron alone commanded a whopping 82% of all ticket sales in North America. Studio data showed that Age of Ultron played to the usual superhero audience. Males were 59% of the crowd and 59% were over 25. Reviews were generally good, but critics were not rushing to pile on the praise as they did with the last film. Paying fans also liked the film, as evidenced by the solid cinema score grade. It was a notch below the rare plus that the first Avengers earned, but equal to all 3 Iron Man picks. Though adding some new characters, Ultron essentially gave fans the same concept of putting several mighty superheroes under one roof. It was a novelty the first time around, not as exciting or special the second time. The road ahead may be promising. Globally speaking, sequels are typically front-loaded, but Ultron is getting respectable buzz and there is nothing substantial on its second weekend to challenge it. But if the tentpole follows the same path as Iron Man 3, it would reach a domestic final in the neighborhood of $440 million, which would be 29% below the $623.4 million of the Avengers. Overseas markets have been red hot for Age of Ultron, with Mexico and Spain opening and Friday's May Day injecting holiday business into many markets. The weekend delivered a stellar $168 million from 88 territories, pushing the international count to $439 million for a global gross of a stunning $626.7 million. Mexico scored the biggest opening weekend of all time with a fantastic $25.5 million, while Korea leads all overseas markets with a come of $55.4 million after its second weekend. Part of the film is set there. China opens on May 12th and has the potential to gross north of $300 million all by itself. Japan launches on July 4th. That gives Ultron the potential to score an international box office haul that easily beats the $895 million of the first Avengers and break the $1 billion mark worldwide. The new superhero spectacular may still be on a trajectory to cross the $1.5 billion box office milestone, becoming one of the top 5 largest global blockbusters of all time. Marvel routinely stakes out the first weekend of May for its many properties. The comic studio already has claimed the summer kickoff frame for the next few years, with Captain America: Civil War in 2016, Guardians of the Galaxy 2 in 2017, and Avengers: Infinity War Parts 1 and 2 on the following years, all through Disney. But hey, May 1st in 2020 is wide open. No other film came anywhere close to Ultron's levels this weekend. In fact, nothing else managed to break $7 million over 3 days. Rising one position from third to second place was the romance The Age of Adeline, with an estimated $6.3 million in its sophomore frame. Lionsgate positioned the Blake Lively drama in the marketplace to serve as counter-programming for adult women, and it managed to win the silver medal sandwiched in between 2 testosterone action sequel tentpoles. Off 53%, Adeline has grossed $23.4 million to date and could be headed for the $35 million range.